Felicitations to Cannabis Universe. It's time to pay heed to the wisdom and musics of the man making the best case to legalize pot, one freedom bust at a time. So kick back, roll 'em up and load 'em up. Friends indeed, this is the Kingpin Thorne Peters on pot.
Friends indeed. Opinions are like assholes. Everyone is entitled to theirs, but they're not entitled to mine. You the sheeple, that's EWE the sheeple, believe that you have some kind of constitutional obligation to express your opinion. Opinions that turn into beliefs, that are enforced as laws, that become institutions like the Crusades, the Inquisition, witch trials, slavery, prohibition, the Holocaust, segregation, apartheid, and now the war on drugs, which lays waste Cannabis Universe one pothead at a time.
If the Democrats really gave it enough publicity, a lot of thought, they'd understand that the people, the blacks, the minorities that they are supposedly representing, are being so harmed by these laws. It's making their conditions worse.
It's elementary, you damn sheeple. Crimes are beyond the scope of opinion. They're self-evident because there's always a victim crying out for justice. Laws are based on opinions, so the victims are incarcerated and millions line up to demand liberty. There is no hope for social reform in a legal system where lawyers make arguments and judges hand down opinions. We will not be saved by those who speak Latin and call what they do for a living practice. You, the sheeple, have rendered a judgment against Cannabis Nation. You have made it law, and yous are out of order. Now, you see, the brothers on the corner trying to deal their little baggies get a bad name because they're part of a drug culture. It's presumed that they're criminals. And when they're arrested and they got pot on them, the brother's got a gun on them. What? Well, you got a gun and drugs. Yeah. Well, yeah, if you got it, you better damn well have a gun. This is Memphis, son. Yeah. Yeah, this is bad news around here. So it's not because they're out there using those weapons to commit crimes, per se. They're there. Those are protective weapons. But when they get busted for their baggies of weed, and they're just trying to put food on the table, that's all. They ain't no harm to anybody. I've walked down those streets and scored. I don't have no problem once they get over the fact that I'm not the police. I bring my book. I'm like, yeah, here, look, here's my book, man. Yeah, I'm that dude from the news, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm not the one, man. And so it's okay to deal with me. You'll be straight.
You investigated my club for 9 months to discover I smoked pot. You couldn't figure that out the first day you went to the club. We smoked pot in there every day. They didn't come and arrest me for smoking pot. They planted evidence, they falsified reports, they committed insubordinate perjury to make it look like I was a drug dealer. And now their house of cards is folding on them.
They were looking at him crazier than hell. He had an apple up in his mouth.
Look, and then he sent me that. And then he was gonna go up there on 420, right?
Yes.
And do it again. But this time they weren't going to arrest him for smoking pot. They were going to arrest him for disorderly conduct and disturbing the peace.
Yeah, and just hold me. You know, and then just say you want to spend 19 months in jail fighting it, you know, with another ridiculous bail. So they've always got a twist in play because they can't face me head on. They know if they come head at me, they lose. They lose by law.
And he represented his damn self.
And
when people confuse their opinion with wisdom, they become sheeple in wolves' clothing, devouring humanity one law at a time. Yous build a monument to ignorance when yous promote doing the right thing for their ideal sense of serving a greater good, a higher purpose, a noble cause, no matter how many people they destroy along the way. Well, here is something that is not my opinion. It is hate speech when you demand that your opinions are inflicted on others. Opinions like witches should be burned, Negroes should be slaves, Jews should be slaughtered, fags should be bashed, interracial couples should be hung, potheads should be incarcerated.
Stoney Hayes here. What you are now experiencing is a Freedom Grow, and this Freedom Grow is dedicated to everyone who's fought for our rights to light them up. This also goes out to you, Kingpin. Peace.
Starting in 1937, they started their prohibition on pot. Shortly thereafter, the 1936 classic Reefer Madness.
Yes.
Which was a
an absolutely true story. It's just like that. That's why we smoke pot. Yeah, okay.
But then, in 1940, they come out with this public service announcement, Hemp for Victory, where they decriminalized
hemp,
yeah, which was criminalized under the same laws as the 1937 movement against marijuana,
right?
Where they stated it could do what? Cause Negroes and Mexicans to rape your women and children.
Right, and to also feel like they were equal to us when they get high. They feel like they equal to us. You fucking flocktards are changing the tune of Cannabis Universe from mindless boogie to a maudlin dirge. The imagery of pot should be flower children frolicking naked around the maypole, giggling for no apparent reason, festive sexual encounters, not racially profiled cultures, criminalized party people, jackbooted militia, and dead bodies.
Here's a prime example of how the fallout from the war on drugs is devastating people that are just innocent bystanders. Here you have this little girl whose dad just liked to toke up. I guess he toked up and got caught by the wrong people. She got put in foster care.
Oh, man.
And then 2 months later, her foster mother beats her to death.
Now, there's your pot casualty right there.
Yes. You're more danger from them coming into your house and breaking down the door to see if you have pot than you are from smoking.
Pot Nazis.
Unfortunately, yes. And they criminalize a whole segment of people.
The Kingpin Thorne Peters on Pot. Really real reality TV.
But I'm giving you the chance to cast a ballot that says, all go what? Thank you.
I'll go what?
I'll go fuck yourself.
Unpaid for by the organized organization to elect AWGO what?
I'll go fuck yourself, that's what.
Enough said.
I got caught with some pot. I turned myself in twice with pot.
Right, now so let's say if they take you to trial, because we're going to go to trial and take all these cases all the way, and they convict you, and you do a year. Are you ready to allocate somewhere around $150,000 to $200,000 on a pot case, and then complain that the taxes are going through the roof and you can't test the rape kits? And now you've got all this money, but you've got it for the pot cases. And
Hold on, wait. While I'm spending my year in jail, you'll be taking care of my 16-year-old daughter.
Right.
You'll be taking care of my 8-month-old daughter. You'll be taking care of the 2-year-old girl that my 16-year-old daughter is taking care of. So,
that's trickle up and down, friends.
Yeah.
All right, now, so let's hear it from all those sheeple in the great state of Washington that think you've got cannabis legalized. Hip, hip. Bah. There's a 70-year-old retired truck driver growing pot at his house with his wife, not bothering a soul on earth, but he's facing 10 years to life in prison for growing weed. Why? Oh, he's living up to the state standard, but somebody forgot to tell President Barack Hussein Jihad Al-Qaeda Taliban Obama that pot is legal in the state of Washington. He's under the impression that pot is not legal anywhere in the United States of America. And he and his henchmen are willing to prove it by putting this guy in prison for, well, probably the rest of his natural life. Now, meanwhile, back on the corner, you've got all the dispensaries popping up. They had to drive by a 21,000 square foot plant dispensary, but they didn't get busted. So exactly what is the formula for legal? We're not even trying to figure out what the definition anymore is. We're down to what is the formula for legal.
Have you read the book Puffin' Tough, written from jail by the Kingpin Thorne Peters? Well, I have, and I can tell you that it's as entertaining as it is enlightening. Read about the man who was railroaded into jail on bogus charges for operating a 420 friendly nightclub. The man who, as his own lawyer, turned down a 30-day deal and waited in jail 19 months to go to trial and possibly face 15 years in prison. The man who stood on the courthouse steps toking from an apple filled with pot to take a freedom bus to put the law on trial. A story that begins in 1974 on his 12th birthday when he got high and laid for the first time. Puffin' Tough details his life as a DJ in the Hollywood underground and culminates with his stand as a political prisoner for the cause. So please go to thornepeters.com. That's Thorn with an E, Peters.com, and order your personalized copy of Puffin' Tough. Believe me, you won't put it down till you're through.
Oy vey, it's like a paradox. It leads to a conundrum and creates a quandary. Yes, yous can be right, yet still do wrong. That's because the truth usually does not set us free. You see, those Caucasians who fought to free the slaves did not do so for their love of the Negro. They did it for their hatred of slavery. The prohibition against alcohol was not repealed because the terrible effects they detailed turned out to be unfounded, not like it is with the propaganda against pot. Caucasians did not support desegregation, hoping that their neighborhoods would go black and they'd have to take white flight in order to preserve their culture. Abortion is the single most despicable act ever inflicted on mankind by womankind. Yet being pro-choice doesn't mean that I'm for abortion. In order to support these despised positions, we must find the collective wisdom to accept that freedom supersedes public, political, or legal opinion, no matter how yous or I feel about it.
Mm-hmm.
In my life, I've always had access to marijuana.
You've been lucky.
I've had no problem finding marijuana.
Here's where we get. Have you ever been arrested?
No, and I've had a police officer in my home who asked me to bring out my tray. He was there for a completely different reason, but he smelled marijuana. Okay. I brought it forward. He asked me if that was all that was in the house. There was at least a quarter on the tray. I said yes. He said fine. He let me keep it. He left.
Very
he didn't
well.
have a problem with it. I've talked to
You just saw civil rights violations inverted, because wait a minute, now they'll go down to the hood and find that young brother that they don't like who's got a blunt roach in his pocket, and they're going to put him through changes, get that first criminal bust on him. So every time they're looking for a suspect, they start looking for everybody with a criminal record. And oh, there's young brother. He got a criminal record for some pot. Yeah. And now they got the reason to come on you. This is why it's a civil rights violation.
You sheeple, wake up and smell the assholes. It could be yours. Wisdom begins where opinions end. So let it end now. Because Christianity preached that God created Negroes to work in the fields, they were enslaved for 500 years. Because Negroes were decreed to be a subhuman entity, interracial coupling was seen as bestiality, and lynchings continued into the 1960s. We are so disgusted by fags that they were deemed insane until 1973. Because Reagan criminalized pot as a gateway drug in 1981, millions of potheads have been wasted by this law. It is not my opinion that I am free to toke up. It is my right. So, as the kingpin of Cannabis Universe, I command yous, let my peepses go. So, until next week on Fab, may you look inward, outward, and upward to find peace, love, and stars. Take care.
We're kicking it with the Kingpin Thorne Peters on pot. Make sure you come again every Sunday at 4:20 p.m. Eastern Time. I know I will.
I'll be there for you, babe.
Strike up the band. It's time we party. Show 'em when we party. We party hardy, calling all freaks out in the city. Let's get down to the nitty gritty. Everybody clap to the fun.
I am a pot smoker. I love smoking pot with smoking hot women.